So there's word going around that Anthem is probably going to receive a reboot. The game is pretty much in shambles currently. The development team has pretty much been scattered. There have been people leaving left and right. We don't know the details, if maybe they were asked to leave or if they left because it was pretty much a sinking ship. But lately, Jason Schreier of Kotaku published an article about the possibility of Anthem coming back. Now, if you have not read this article, please take some time to read this article, because there are a few things that I want to mention regarding this whole scenario that will probably make sense in the context of that. So many people have speculated, and even within his own news, it's more about sources giving him some hints about how this is probably going to all work out. You know, taking this game, this IP, moving it to a few other studios that are probably going to be sitting there, taking their time rebuilding this game and bringing it back to the market. And as many people may say, oh, EA seems to be far gone, or as many people may say, Anthem just is beyond saving, you have to look at something from a perspective of some gamers. Now, after reading this article, I went straight to the comment section, and the very first comment was actually placed by a gentleman or somebody named Garlador or something like that. It sounds like a gentleman type of moniker that they would use. And the first comment said, "No game is beyond saving. I still have an egg on my face for saying that Final Fantasy 14 was beyond saving after its rocky launch, predicted it will go free to play, and then slowly fade into existence, or indifference, and shame as Square Enix moved on. They instead went back and retooled it into one of my favorite games of all time. So it can be done." Now, even if this person went ahead and said, but we'll see, Anthem isn't Final Fantasy, a franchise with decades of expectations and millions of already existing fans, and EA isn't Square, who realized that salvaging Final Fantasy 14 was important for salvaging the value and quality of the Final Fantasy brand overall. I wish BioWare the best. Anthem isn't currently what I wanted, not even close. I'll never say never, but it will take a miracle for them to reheat me on anything Anthem related. Not that it's impossible, but we will see. I guess I can stop the video, and this person's perception would have pretty much made my point, because first of all, I don't want to say, and I stand in this same category, because at first when I heard the news, I said to myself, there's just almost no way that they can bring this game back. But then at the same time, I remembered No Man's Sky. I remember how they've actually rebranded the game, and No Man's Sky on Steam is actually going for like $60. I mean, it's crazy how that game actually came back, and there is an existing community around it. Let me look at the $59.99. I just wanted to confirm, so you hear my keyboard punching in those numbers. And they brought out the expansion, and there is an existing No Man's Sky community online. There are people who make content for the game, and it's actually thriving. If you really want to check it out for yourself, you can go and you can look online, and the game right now is actually in a good spot. So it's not impossible to bring back an IP, but then I can see how it might be difficult for EA, but at the same time necessary. Now, sure, many people may walk away and say, we're not coming back to this IP because Anthem really has no precedent in terms of EA. This is supposedly a new IP that was supposed to compete with Destiny 2. And I think with the trend of many development firms learning from their mistakes or picking up the scraps of where they've left off, it makes sense it makes sense that they actually go back and actually fix their game. Because if they throw the IP away, they are throwing away consumer confidence, which EA is very known for doing. If you look, Ubisoft has gone back with Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Destiny 2, they went free to play after leaving Bungie, but in the Destiny 1 era, they were able to bring back the game with the Taken King. And then you look at No Man's Sky, where they came back and actually fixed it and were able to garner a lot of fan respect. And I think the fixing of Anthem, regardless of how it is, needs to be done in order to restore consumer confidence. If they don't do that, then they have no way to move forward, in my opinion, because they know how gamers are. History will always kind of repeat itself, in the sense that gamers will say, well, EA seems to be committed to going back and picking up their game and fixing it. Now, at first, when everything at BioWare seemed to be like there was fire on the mountain, it just felt like everybody could see from the outside that EA didn't seem interested in this game. And who knows, maybe they did seem interested, but it just felt like the vision could not be carried forward because of perhaps internal issues left and right. But now that, some people have left, perhaps there might be somebody else that can come in and lead through such a very difficult situation and steer this whole ship into, or set it on course, and people can actually have a game that they can play. Because even if a lot of people might walk away, you have to think about this possibility. There are other people that will most likely come back and check out what's going on in this whole Anthem franchise. Now, whether it be free to play, whether it be a model where they actually charge very little, because that was also something that's been speculated that it may come back as not a full price item. I feel like they have to find a way to balance two things. They have to find a way to attract a new community and find a way to compensate the entire community that already purchased this game. So if you own the game, I feel like there needs to be a special gift for you waiting on the day that this Anthem reboot happens. So let's say it's going to happen perhaps in a year from now. This is fall, November, and maybe we're going to be seeing another Anthem, rejuvenation come in November 2020. Well, they need to market it first to those people who committed and paid for the game and say, hey, the moment you come back to Anthem, we have a care package for you of so and so volume or so and so weight. They have to make them feel special, almost pretty much make them feel like royalty when they want them to return to this franchise. Because if they do, guess what's going to happen? It's the word of those committed fans who stuck with the game that is going to most likely cajole other players to come to the game, first of all. And then if the critics come knocking at the door, the old community can say, hey, EA righted the wrongs, even though it took them almost, by next year, probably almost 2 years. But at that point, we know, and they have a case that they've done right by their community. And then new players can then start to use that testimony, that same word of mouth to then eventually come and start checking the game. Anthem's reboot is a PR move that needs to happen from a corporate perspective. If you're on the corporate side, you're seeing exactly how this actually works. This is exactly what works, and this is exactly what's going to work for the future of game development in terms of multiplayer MMO marketability, upselling type game content for them. Now, many people may still not touch it and say, "Oh, it's EA," and that's fine. They've laid their bed and they need to lie in it. But if they're going to go back and get their game back in place and try to pull back an old community and a new community, then I feel like they ought to go ahead and do it. Not just float the idea that it might be something that they'll do and see how fans react before they eventually take a step. No, it's necessary for their own bottom line and for their own corporate agenda. But in this case, you cannot make money building a foundation of only wanting to gouge your fans. You have to be able to serve your community of gamers. And if Anthem cannot do that, then there's no need for EA to try to sell another game in this climate currently. And so as much as, I give EA thumbs up, I want to give thumbs up to those who stuck it out with Anthem. Marketing is actually very strange. And, many people might have said, well, it was an EA game. You should have known before you went and spent money on the game. But you also have to realize that game, EA did, in my opinion, everything that they could to control the narrative. They poured the heavy game changer influence on Anthem. And this is why I will not trust anyone anymore that calls themselves something like an EA game changer. I mean, you are literally a publicity arm of the company, and you're not doing or sharing information mostly based on your own independent frame of mind. As much as it sounds like I'm being really harsh, we all saw the product of Anthem, and before the release, a lot of the people who went there necessarily didn't say much, and maybe they weren't even given much to say. And the one person who said something about Anthem, I hope you guys all remember, there was a story, and this was covered by a lot of people on YouTube, where one guy from the Game Changers program made a video that EA took down and said, well, it was because of some weird technicality, when many suspected that it was because that person had said the truth and not being able to support the game. And then there was also another streamer who was also banned from the game for finding a way to be able to progress faster. So there were a lot of things that really happened all over the place that word got around, and it seemed like EA was purposefully pushing this game in order to get some sales dollars on release day when the game was not finished. And so knowing all of this and players seeing and hearing all this information, they have to go back and fix that game. And I'm glad that that game really went through the fire of the gaming community. Like, here you go. We will serve you exactly what you've served us, a dumpster fire. And so everybody served it a dumpster fire. But now EA can then maybe think through, get somebody or get a team of people in place with a vision to make a compelling game, not just go back and reboot Anthem and say, oh yeah, we polished it up. No, you got to make a compelling title filled with content, filled with good mechanics, that's not broken, that works, that's fluid, that's a modern game, not a game that has a bunch of loading screens, and then bring it to the market. I think this is definitely what they need to do, and this is going to earn them some really good favor going into the next few years, because if not, they might as well just kiss making video games goodbye. But I hope they stick around, because like I've said before, EA can't change. Even though they'll have to forcefully do so by the wallets of the gamers, they can change. When they start to bleed dry financially, they'll eventually get the memo to change, and gamers are still going to get what they want. It's just what it is. I mean, right now I'm playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I cannot believe it's an EA published game. I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, no way, this is EA who said that single player games were not what gamers wanted. And at the same time, when gamers eventually said, all right, we'll keep our money and give Naughty Dog and give it to Square Enix, EA was like, oh no, let's go get a single player game. And they have one right now in the market, and it seems to be doing well. No one's complaining. It released in so much peace and tranquility, you wouldn't even believe EA dropped the game. Can you imagine that EA dropped the game just a few days ago? Imagine any other EA drop. Hell, there's noise everywhere, there's rage everywhere, but this one just dropped. And everybody just said, yeah, finally a good game. Hopefully we can say the same thing about Anthem in the future. All right, that's all I have for today. Thank you very much for your time and audience. I appreciate you guys so much, and I guess I'll see you in my next video. Peace.